I am feeling like there's a big door that's ready to open. And I'm gonna open it.
I feel like I've been in a dark room stumbling around looking for something and not knowing there was a door. This is something that I'm going to reflect on because I know that I can't continue without that door.
I am determined to deal with things that I have not dealt with well in my past. I feel like this is just going to help all that.
We are more than our thoughts. Our mind is more than our thoughts. When we stand in that space between thoughts, when our mind is in that state, it's saying, I'm open to learning something new. And then I hear something. Something emerges from the nothing. Something emerges from nothing. We witness something come to mind where nothing was there before, except in the body, in feelings. Your true self freedom. Let's begin with your homework assignment. Your homework assignment for this week is to do something that you have aspired to do for a very long time. It has to be something tiny, manageable.
I did a vigorous cleaning of my dining room. And I know that sounds funny to you, but we have only one eating space in my house. And what happens with my beloved husband, who I adore, and he has almost no faults, he doesn't like his office. He doesn't like being in a small room. And so gradually over a series of days and weeks, he moves out to the dining room. And so we have a big dining room table. We end up eating on one corner of it. And then all of his stuff is on the rest of it. And then there's food on the floor. It's just a total disaster. So Saturday morning, I got in there and it took me like 2 hours to sort through his papers and stack his books and clean the floor and all that. So that's what I did. And it makes me very happy because I still go out there and as I walk across the room, I can look under the table and there's no crumbs or debris down on the floor. And I thought, I need to do this every week. That was what I was thinking. So I hope I'm not jumping on anyone else's thing, but I've decided I'm going to set a goal to do one thing every week. Like, you know how they tell you to eat the frog first thing in the morning? I'm going to do that once a week. So that's my story.
I really like order. I like things to be neat and tidy, and that's how I deal with the chaos of the world is by cleaning. And I've always done that. Even when I was a kid, if I had an argument with my mom, I would clean the house. And it just gave me a sense of, I guess, control over things. And so I know that. But my life has gotten so busy and things have piled up so much that there's so many things that I needed to do, so many things I needed to clean and organize. And then the more things piled up, the more I felt overwhelmed and unable to move, not sure which way to go. But having this homework assignment, I I was able to choose a few things. One of them was organizing our linen closet and refolding all the towels. It was kind of a jumbled mess of just things shoved in there. So I took everything out and refolded it all and put it in there. And it was something that I've been needing to do for a long time, and but just not getting to it. So doing it, I just felt like, I don't know, empowered. I felt like I accomplished something. Um, I also felt like, why didn't I just do that before? But I know that the reasons, the overwhelming feeling. Also, I realized that I was able to focus and choose what I was going to do, where before it just felt like there was too many things to do and I couldn't choose any of them. And so I guess that's what I learned, is that when I'm overwhelmed, I don't seem to be able to do anything. And so to be careful about being in that overwhelmed space, and maybe I have a tool for getting out of that.
Um, for me, I had some things going that I had to do and some that I wanted to do. So what I did was finish putting little colored glass beads on my hat that I had bought on my last trip to Hermosa Beach. So now I have my sun hat all gorgeous and ready to go. I vacuumed the upstairs of our home, and I made tea and scones. So the way I felt was they were all things that I could finish and accomplish. I didn't aspire to anything that was too big for me to finish. So the finishing and the pride was a big part of how I felt. But what I learned was, even the things that I didn't want to do, I used to align the word aspire to fun things or good things. But if I can get that aspireness, that aspire magic of aspiring, and sprinkle that on the worst job, like vacuuming the upstairs, actually was enjoyable because I was aspiring and watching it happen and being present to do it. So, what I learned is I was thinking about the word conspire. I did a little bit of study in seminary with Catherine Keller, and we used to talk about conspiring together. Now, when in our language, usually that's used negatively, in the negative fashion, like he's conspiring to do something evil or bad, right? Bank robbers conspire. But all it really means is to breathe together. So I wrote a little sentence about what I learned. I wrote, I aspire to conspire with spirit and inspire my soul and the world.
Say that again, please.
I aspire to conspire with spirit and inspire my soul and the world.
Please say more about what you've learned.
I think Maggie hit what I was hitting, and I didn't come to that language yet until she said it. But I always use aspire as a very positive thing, but because of your example, Tendeka, about mopping the floor, and let me tell you, my kitchen floor still needs to be mopped. I thought, that's it. We should be aspiring. And instead of using should language, like I should do this or I should do that, using the I want language. I want to do this. And, all of us have been cleaning house for, since we were little. I know all of us have been cleaning house since we were little. And you get to the point where you're just like, I don't really like that. It's not something I want to spend my time on. But you find the reward of it is just, it outweighs all of the effort that you put into it. So I wrote down Maggie's quote. I'm gonna put that on a post-it and put it here on my computer so I can see it all the time.
You're making me blush now. um, More about what I learned was that it's often how we see things. You know, it's a mood that we attach. We almost it's a lens. It's just a way of viewing something that makes it a burden. There are things that truly are burdens. They're huge tasks, and I didn't choose any. You know, they're not on my list of things that I accomplished. But the feeling let me just say, there was a feeling woven through the beating of the head and the vacuuming of the floor and the making of the scones that was the same. So that'll be my self-imposed homework to figure out what that was, because I'm just realizing that now that aspiration feeling was identical for the three things that I accomplished. Of course, they had different outcomes because the scones were delicious. And the vacuuming, I didn't appreciate the vacuuming until I came up to bed that night and I just went, oh yeah, I vacuumed. Look at this. You know, that was when I appreciated it. To have the nap all going in the right direction on the rug, you know. And my hat is just waiting to be revealed. So, yeah.
I would say um, that what was happening when I was cleaning the linen closet was like a clarity, like unclouding my head. My head was so clouded, was so just overwhelmed that just doing the one task, focusing on one thing and doing it and accomplishing it, um, that it just unclouded my head. And I think I didn't think about it at the time, but thinking about it now, changing the language and elevating the task from a list of so many things to something that I aspire to do, I think that it made it stand out.
I had an epiphany right now that because I was dealing with my husband and his stuff, and he was here in the house, that I had to call on my true self over and over, that I couldn't, um, that I'm trying to change who I am and how I react in a lot of situations. And it was so nice. It was so beautiful and amazing to have my true self, to know what that is. And so when I started getting like kind of like ratchety or bitchy, whatever word you want to put there, because that's how I am, um, I just would step back and say, no, my true self is joyful, calm, and I'm happy. I love this space. I love this house. I love my husband more than I can imagine. And I'm not going to get all wound up about this. And what do you know? The task got completed and I was elated. Like I just, rather than being a total, raging whatever about it, I was happy and I was, you know, and even my husband noticed. He's like, "Oh, okay, well, you're cool about this." And I'm like, "Yeah, get your stuff out of here." So, yeah.
So each of you, by pausing, transformed the way you responded to a task. So that now the way that you did the work was directed by your true self. This was not simply an act of your will, of volition. When you paused, you were able to remap the way in which you think about something, which could not have happened if you hadn't first paused. So volition is not enough. I will do this, you've said for 6 months. With regard to your various tasks. Yes, this week I will do it. But you didn't do it. But when you said, okay, I aspire to do that. And you pause. What does that mean? To aspire to clean the table? You were now in the space of your freedom. Your true self freedom, which led Walt Whitman, when asked the question, do you believe in miracles? His response was, is there anything else? Did I tell you the story of the monk who was released from the Tsarist prison? Tsarist Russia, century and a half ago. He was arrested, tortured for years on end, chained to the wall. But he was finally released and made his way with difficulty down the street walking. A friend of his, a fellow monk who hadn't seen him in years, ran up to his fellow monk. And the first thing he said was not hello or how wonderful to see you, but he was so astonished by the way in which the man's body had been broken in so many ways. He said, is there anything of you left? And the monk said, just love. That's true self freedom. Thoughts and comments, please?
It's comforting to know that I have more power over myself, over my reactions, my ability. I mean, I've known it, but I haven't lived it. And so I feel more empowered with tools to deal with some of the issues of the world that I've been dealing with. And I don't know why I wasn't able to do it before. I don't know. I guess it's the difference between knowing something and doing something, feeling something. We can know things all day long, but we need to feel them. Um, we need to feel them in our body in order for us to maybe really believe it with our whole person.
And I think too, to choose to make that knowing a part of who we claim we are takes, there's a decision, there's a threshold we cross where we went, wow, that was a really good way of handling this or that. Um, I feel like I would like more time to reflect, to pause and discern about the monk story. But when I heard it, I felt something like lift up in me, like it was ready to come out. And I stopped it because I feel like it would make me cry. And I'm not sure what that is yet. There's a family emergency happening this afternoon. My dad, he's 90 years old. He went to the hospital with 101 fever and some confusion. He marched in a parade yesterday, but today he's in the hospital. So I sense that I want to keep a distance from it. And that doesn't feel right, but I'm letting myself not respond. So, like I say, I haven't done all of the steps to discerning. I have to count to 100, I think, before I have it figured out. But when you talked about the monk, and I thought about what my life was being raised by him, I want to be that monk now. So I can just love him, But I don't know when I could do that. Is it fair to understand? Is it fair to inquire of the monk if he still has the thoughts, the remembrance of
Of the trauma.
yeah. Did the love take away all the pain? Probably not. He probably still carries it.
Yes, but without the sting. All of us, I lost my parents within 5 days of each other of independent illnesses. And my life, as you know, with my parents was not great. It was not Pleasantville. But nevertheless, there's mourning. And I cried. So I can miss my mother, especially, who by the time she died was my best friend. The pain's gone. It's held by the love and the joy and the gratitude. That's the power that you have as a true self. You are free.
What's coming to me is the value of remembering that suffering, seeing the possibility of changing the way the brain reacts to these thoughts is where the power comes, and the encouragement and the aspiration. Yeah. Yeah. It dissolves the sense of a need for revenge, or I don't need him to understand it. I need to understand it.
I noticed that after I was able to uncloud my mind and do the one thing that I aspired to do, I was able to do a whole list of other things. And um, and it felt different when I was doing them. And it was like I felt like, I guess, like I was stuck in quicksand, or I couldn't move. And then all of a sudden, I had clarity, I had focus, and I got a lot of things done over the weekend.
Thinking about what Kat said about, getting a lot done and going in a different direction. Um, I have, I don't want to say care, but I have oversight of my mother-in-law. She lives in a care facility, but we, see her all the time. And today, during lunch, I had to help her vote. And I don't know if any of you have looked at your California ballot yet, but oh my gosh, like try explaining that crazy crap, that's the only word I can think of, to a 90-year-old with dementia. And it was funny because I just had like this source of patience in this process. And I just said, well, this is who I voted for, and here's why. These are my reasons. You can vote for them or not. Do you want to vote for someone else? And I would just let her sit and look at the list of names. And then she would vote, and we'd move on to the next category. And there was like 18 categories. It's like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so I just feel like even that relationship in my life has been impacted by this shift, by this freedom.
You are doing magnificent work here. You really are. My gosh, just fabulous.